up to the top. Ain't never gonna stop, never gonna keep me down. Still the one that's standing now. Yesterday is calling me, go down in history. Every day I fight to be legendary.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Ultra Nerd video. This has been a movie review I've been wanting to do for a little while, but now I get my chance. Little update on the channel. The copyright strikes on my channel have finally expired, so now this will be my last review in this old format, though I could be a few more videos in this format, but this will be my last review. I'm going to go back to the old format soon, which I'm excited to do because I like doing that format a lot more. Yeah, it's more work, but I love doing that. So, I'm just going to also put this out there. 2020's been a dark year, guys, past few days. I'm not going to really say much about it. You guys have watched the news. You guys know what's going on. Just so you know, this channel has always been, for me, a safe space. This is always a bit more of a fun channel. Politics, that really doesn't come in here. We're here more about fun. This is just about, we are purely here about nerds and entertainment, guys. Just so you know, on this channel, to me, all you are, guys, is, I've always said, if you are kind to others, you're genuine, if you're always looking out, if you're always doing your best to make sure everyone around you is good, if you're just a good person and you're a big friggin' nerd and you're a fan of whatever, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, sci-fi, horror, whatever, you are welcome here. Anyways, that out the way, let's get to The Last Airbender, which is probably one of the most hated and one of the most botched live-action adaptations of a cartoon I have ever seen. Let's get into it. Now, to start this off, I'm going to try to be as nice as I possibly can. I know it's odd because every review that had been posted about this film is just blasting it, saying how awful it is, and I don't want to do that, okay? I actually want to put a bit of positivity because, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, I don't like being an overly angry fan when it comes to film, okay? Now, I'm not the biggest Avatar fan in the world. My buddy Corbin, he's the biggest Avatar fan there is. In fact, just a few months ago, me, him, and my other buddy Alex, we all just binge watched the entire Avatar Last Airbender show. And I'm going to be as nice as I genuinely can, because unlike everyone else, I do not hate this film with every fiber of me. I think it's bad, but I don't hate this thing to my very core. Let me explain why. First off, I do not hate M. Night Shyamalan as a director. I don't. I actually kind of applaud the guy. I think in a lot, and especially his good films, he's very ambitious, very creative. I think he can be very gutsy, and I think that when he's good, he is really friggin' good. Not just with The Sixth Sense, which everyone points, like, some people say that's like his only good film. I'm like, Unbreakable was really good. I have mixed feelings on Signs, though I think Signs has some good, some bad moments. It has some downright brilliant moments. The Village is one of the most beautifully shot films I've seen, especially with Roger Deakins' cinematography. And I think M. Night Shyamalan has some good things with The Village. I actually really liked Split, and I have mixed feelings on Glass, but I think the first 2/3 of Glass are really, really good. I think that M. Night Shyamalan, when he's good, is really good. Now, is this a bad film? Yes. Many people point this as probably his worst, and he's made some bad films. He's made some stinkers. Do I think he has a bit of an ego? Kind of. I think that, honestly, when you make a really good film like The Sixth Sense, and it was praised as heavily as it was, it can go to your head a little bit, and it's understandable. It's understandable. If you made a really good piece of artwork, or you made a really good film like that, and everyone left and right was praising about how big of a game changer it was, how groundbreaking it was, admittedly, it'd go to your head a little bit, especially if that was like your breakout hit. And people thought, oh my god, this guy's going to be the next game changer. He'll be like the next George Lucas. He's going to smash all records. He's going to do incredible stuff. And you all know history. But here's the thing. I think M. Night Shyamalan can be really good. When he's good, he's an excellent director. And I actually kind of like The Visit, too. I cannot wait to see what he does next, because I think at times he is a very big hit and miss director. When he misses, it hurts. But when he hits, it works. So, that's just my feelings on M. Night, my bad. Let's go on to the film. Now, The Last Airbender, as we all know, is the adaptation of the Nickelodeon cartoon Avatar: The Last Airbender, in which Katara and Sokka of the Southern Water Tribe find a little boy named Aang in a frozen block of ice. And I'm not going to call them, pronounce their names how the movie calls them. I'm going to call them how they were in the show. Like how they say Sokka instead of Sokka, or Ong instead of Aang. I'm not going to do that. But anyways, they find Aang in the iceberg, and they find out that Aang is the last of the Airbenders. And it was revealed to them that the Avatar that would come to end the 100-Year War between the Fire Nation and pretty much everyone else was an Airbender. The Avatar was meant to be an Airbender, so they are convinced this little boy is going to be the Avatar. And the first film encapsulates the entire first season, from finding him in the iceberg to the Siege of the North, the season finale of season 1. Honestly, I think that was their first big mistake, was making the first film the entire first season. This film isn't even 2 hours. I think it's like an hour 50 or something minutes. I could be wrong. But you take that really condensed runtime and you try to pound 20 episodes worth of stuff into this film, into this very short runtime, you skip a lot of stuff. And they had to shave down a lot of aspects. There were no pirates. There was no Boomy. They skipped out on Jet. They skipped out on that storyline. They pretty much just cover them finding Aang, the Fire Nation's capture of Aang, their escape, and then Aang finding out he is the last of the Airbenders, and then the Siege of the North, the Water Tribe. That's what they have to uncover. And as someone who really likes the show, I think it's an incredible show. I think that skipping out on a lot of those storylines hurts. It does. Because you're missing a lot of character development. There was a lot of character development for Katara, Sokka, and Aang during some of the storylines that are not featured in the film. And the problem is that these characters, other than the way that they look and their name, really don't have enough character to them by themselves. This isn't even addressing the cartoon. This isn't even saying that they're nothing like the cartoon. They don't have much character to themselves. Katara just seems very one note. She doesn't seem to lack that caring, loving wisdom aspect to her that the show had so prevalently, or even any character herself. There really was no character. Sokka was just an exposition machine who really didn't have any character himself, and Aang really didn't either. Aang just seemed very vanilla. Very one note, not a ton to him. Zuko had some fleshing out of his character, though granted his scar could have been better. They did have a bit of fleshing out to his character, and to the film's credit, they do their best to try to establish his relationship with his uncle Iroh, which I will give them some credit. They did their best to establish there is a connection. You can tell there is a connection between Iroh and Zuko, which plays a huge role throughout the entire story. But other than that, these characters are very vanilla. There isn't a lot to them. It also was a huge mistake to reveal the Fire Lord in this film. It was a huge mistake. Now, the show did a good thing by keeping the entire show, by keeping the Fire Lord in shadow until the final season. We rarely saw him. And he was extremely intimidating when we finally met Ozai. Here, you would hardly tell that he is the Fire Lord unless they addressed him as such. That's who he is. Unless they addressed him as Ozai, you could hardly tell he was the Fire Lord. He just looks like another general in the Fire Nation army. That's all he looks like. And the acting from everyone, I'm always hesitant to criticize actors because, as I said in my Compossible review, I know they're just trying to follow the direction of what the director is telling them to do. A director's job is to get the best performance out of his actors. That's his job. And I know that they're kids, and we always hesitate to criticize kid actors. I hesitate to criticize actors in general. Though again, there are some times where I'm like, dude, come on. You got to give a better performance. You got to give a better line delivery. Come on. You can do better. In this case, I do think a lot of it is on direction. The direction is fairly awful in this. The writing is not good either. I think these actors really were just trying their best with the direction they were given and with the script they had. I don't think they were just sleepwalking through their performances, though at times it can seem like it. And I do think a lot of that has to go on the direction, which has to go on M. Night. A lot of that has to go on the writing, which again has to go on M. Night. I do think that they could have done a much better job because, again, to make these characters seem real, the acting has to seem real. Sometimes good acting can sometimes hide a deficiency in a character because the actor is doing such a brilliant job that you are enriched, that you are bought in. But if a performance isn't good, then the problems and the flaws in a character's writing are magnified even greater because you're not invested in you're not invested in their performance, you're not invested in their character. All you're thinking about is how badly their character is written. So that's why acting really is a big detriment to the film. But the biggest problem, I think, with this film, and there are a lot of huge problems with it, I think the biggest problem with this film is that it never takes a moment to breathe. It never just lets its characters just take in a moment. It is constantly moving. Like, it is fast, 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 fast. It is just from one plot point to the next. Plot A, from point A, point B, point B, point C, point B, point D, point D, point E. They just move from point to point to point to point to point. They are just moving constantly throughout. Constantly throughout. They never take a moment to just sit down and have a nice, calm discussion. Even in action films, there needs to be time, or adventure films, there needs to be time for the characters to just sit down and have a breather. Have some reflection. We need that in stories so we can know not just about the adventure we're on, so we can know about the characters, so we know why we're supposed to be invested in the journey. They don't do that here. And I think it really hurts the film because the whole time you're just having story thrown at you, but without really knowing why you should care. You're told about what you're supposed to care, but not why. That's a huge part of storytelling, is getting the audience to know why. And this film fails at that. And I think if I were to go back and rewrite the script, I would take a lot of moments where the characters just sit down, maybe have some nice discussions, maybe a nice lunch or something, which is one thing that hurts is we don't get any of those nice, funny Iroh moments. Like how Iroh was constantly inviting Zuko just to sit down to have some tea because he wanted just to have a nice moment with his nephew. But those moments in the show revealed a lot about Zuko and Iroh. It revealed a lot about their characters, their desires, their goals, and why they wanted to accomplish those goals. This film lacks that dearly. And the writing really lacks here. The effects are somewhat decent. The earth bending and water bending looks okay. Again, I think the problem is that they really focus too much on the story, not enough on the characters. For me, characters is a huge thing, especially in filmmaking. Now, this is something I want to speak on. I think this is really important, especially when discussing films like this. I understand fans' hatred and anger for this film. Okay, I totally get it. It's completely understandable. We all have that film that we just cannot stand because we're a fan of a certain franchise or a license, and a film botches it so terribly we can't stand it, or at least in our minds it botched it. I always kind of side with filmmakers. Probably because, I'm aspiring to be a filmmaker and I love being and I love film. I always kind of reject the idea of, like, those extreme fan stuff, like the petitions and like the mad hate waves that are thrown at directors or actors, stuff like that. Or like the stuff that like begs to get a film removed or erased forever, or like removed from canon, or certain things like that. I never petition for that. I always kind of think it's a little ridiculous, because as much as I am a fan of stuff, I do know that fans can be over emotional. We can get too emotionally attached to licenses, to properties, to characters, and we feel like the director owes us that. And the filmmakers owe us that, when they don't owe us anything. They chose to make this project. They wanted to make the project out of their own passion. I genuinely believe that Shyamalan and his team tried. Was the direction poor? Absolutely. Is this film bad? Yes, it's bad. It botches the adaptation. It botches the characters, the writing. Even if it wasn't an adaptation of Avatar, even if it was just a film without the Last Airbender license, it would still have problems. It would still be a bad movie, because it has bad storytelling, it has bad direction, bad characters, it has terrible writing, problems that would plague any movie. But I never buy into the fanisms, because I think fans can get over emotional. When it comes to analyzing a film, you have to take the emotions out of it. Will it play a factor? Inevitably. It's hard to be completely and totally objective. It's hard. Near impossible. But you need to be able to do it as much as you possibly can. Just take a step back and look at the film without looking at it as a fan, and just ask, if I wasn't so much of a fan, would I still feel the same way? You have to be able to do that. Now, sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you have to say, well, I can't look at it that way because I am that big of a fan. Totally get that. It happens sometimes. But as someone who, and I think this comes from a perspective of someone who isn't an Avatar mega fan. Someone who isn't a huge absolute, I like the show. I think the show is excellent. But I'm not a mega fan. I didn't go out buying all the toys and the merchandise, and I didn't go out wearing an Aang or a Sokka, or, God, maybe even an Appa costume to the premiere. And I understand, those are the people you have to sell this movie to. The people who were fans of the show. The people who grew up and bought all the DVD box sets, who bought all the toys, who bought all the merchandise, who put all the effort into dressing up in full-on cosplay because they loved it so much. Those are the people you have to sell this to. I personally think that fans can be over-emotional, we can get too attached, and it's hard to really look at things from a different perspective. As someone who isn't a mega fan, I can say this. Do I hate this movie with every fiber? Absolutely not. I think it's a bad movie. I think it's really poorly done. And I don't hate M. Night for this. Were these decisions I would have made directing the film? Of course not. I would have made different decisions, but I also acknowledge this isn't my movie. I was not assigned to direct it. I was not the one asked to write the script. I was not the one asked to edit it and look over cut after cut after cut after cut and spend hours trying to make sure this film is at least up to a standard that I thought it would work. It's not my movie. It was his movie. And I have to acknowledge that. Would I have made different choices? Yes, because I have a different perspective than Shyamalan. I have a different experience with the show than Shyamalan. I genuinely believe that this may have broke Shyamalan's heart. I think it would for any filmmaker to put genuine time and effort, which I think he did, into something he clearly wanted to make good. And to have everyone dogpile on it and hate it so badly, and this is at a point where your career is kind of teetering on the edge with Shyamalan, I think it may have actually broken this man's heart. It may have hurt him deeply to have his work so unanimously hated. And he may even think it's bad. He may look back on and think, man, what was I thinking? even if you can do that, it still hurts to have everyone tell you constantly, man, that's terrible. Yeah, you suck. I just know if I was a filmmaker, after a while that would get old. And it would hurt to hear everyone over and over and over and over constantly tell you, man, you suck. Look at this thing you made. It sucks and you suck. That would hurt. It would. So in a sense, I have some sympathy for Shyamalan. The movie is bad, yes. But I don't think it's worth trying to ruin a man's career. I think that fans, again, we get too over emotional. And it happens. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty. We've all gotten too emotionally attached. It happens. But that's why I don't hate this film as much as everyone. Because I think that Shyamalan tried his best. He missed the mark. I think he dropped the ball. But I don't think it's because he hated Avatar. I just simply think they made the wrong choices. Simple as that. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Please be sure to drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Be sure to comment below what you thought of the film. The next video I post, I'm going to do one last ditch effort to try to repost that My Hero Academia video because I really like that video. I'm proud of it. I put a lot of work into it. I want to see if I can get it up. If I can't, then okay, we'll do something else. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. Be sure to look out for more videos soon. That's it for me, guys. I will see you nerds later.